Finance and General Purposes meeting. If I can just remind everybody that that section of the meeting is being recorded. The section across there is not being recorded tonight. So thanks for that. Can I have apologies for absence, please? So may I just read those?
Yeah, Councillor O'Brien, Councillor Dalton, Councillor Beck, Councillor Stowbridge, Councillor Ward.
To disclose members' DPI personal interests in any item to be discussed. I'm sure there's nothing on this agenda tonight. Nobody anything? Thank you. Identify items for which the press and public may be excluded. Again, there's nothing on this agenda. Can we confirm the minutes of the meeting held on Wednesday the 8th of October? Actually, most of these are quite short, the 14th of October. So the 8th and the 14th, if you can confirm those to me, please.
Yeah.
I've got a proposal, somebody second those. All those in favour? Thank you. And the minutes on Monday the 20th of October, please. Proposed.
Second.
John second. All those in favour? Thank you. And finally, the minutes, Monday the 3rd of November.
Move that.
John, Joe, all those in favour, thank you. Thanks for that. Confirm the account bank reconciliation for October 2014.
Move that, Chair.
Ian's proposed, can I have a second? Liz, all those in favour? Thank you. And there is receipts and payment schedules, please. That's your receipts. Gordon?
Yeah, I wonder if the clerk could, through the chair, clerk, could tell me what these nominal code numbers are, please.
No.
For your just, sorry,
Yeah,
it's just what they use for the management account
that's
report.
it. Okay. And then
Thank you. Yes, Clive.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Can I just read
Receipts and payment.
yes, I'm ready payments. It's 010, oh sorry, 08 10 2014 Z050. We've got British Legion Poppy Fuel Replus donation £30. I thought we'd actually mentioned it that we would give a £50 on.
First week 30, then 70.
Then 70, right, it's okay. Because I know we said we'd give a £50 donation and we'd a deal with Reed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody?
Yeah,
Sorry.
the expenses for September, Mr. Gazoo. What is there no VAT playable back on those expenses? No?
No, apparently not.
No. Okay.
Can somebody approve those, please?
Yeah.
Liz, thank you. Second, Ian, all those in favour? Thank you. And approve the overview for publishing on the website, please. Joe's proposing, and a seconder, Ian, all those in favour? Thank you. We can have 2 members to carry out internal audit of the account, please. John will do that. Nobody else, I'm quite happy to do it, so.
That's good. I'm conscious that I offer virtually every other month. There's no problem with that, but it is good to have different names
Yeah, I'm
signed.
quite happy to do it myself and John. To resolve to adjourn the meeting to allow the public to raise any issues regarding today's meeting. To resolve to exclude the
I have a question, Chairman.
Yeah.
The last finance meeting, I was again asked to leave the table by Councillor Dalton, who was acting as finance chair, and she quoted at me the 1908 Act and threatened me with imprisonment or a fine. Can you tell me why tonight you haven't quoted that same act at a councillor who's not a member of the finance committee? Or are you just going to carry on discriminating against me?
Okay. Now, I'm tasked, Stephen, to leave the table, and I think the difference is,
No,
Stuart,
there's no difference whatsoever. The quote at me that because I'm not a member of the finance committee, I can't sit on the table. And I'm being quoted and threatened by the vice chair, Councillor Dalton, and you are also excluding me from finance meetings, but you make an exception for other councillors. That's discrimination, and you ought to be resigning your position on the council.
I think I will try and answer. I mean, you were excluded some time ago from a lot of committees, etc. That was a democratic decision. It was a vote that was put through.
That's quite true. There's nothing democratic. I was lynched, basically, and you voted for it.
That's purely my answer to it. So, do we really need
So you
to?
believe you're not discriminating against me?
No discrimination.
Steve is here because he's been invited to be here.
That's correct, yeah.
That's the difference.
Right, so we're still discriminating against me because you're inviting one councillor to the meeting and you're not inviting me. That's discrimination. I'm going to say again, Chair, why are you not resigning your position of the Finance Committee? Because you are clearly discriminating against the
Purely
council.
because Steve's never been excluded from sitting around the table, whereas yourself has.
So what difference does that make? The question is, if you're not a member of the Finance Committee, according to the proposal put forward by Councillor St John and seconded by Councillor Stonebridge, if you're not a member of the Finance Committee, you cannot sit on the table. You are discriminating against me, Chairman. You should resign your position.
Okay.
Can I just correct a few statements of error?
Okay, yeah, we've got time.
There were 2, I think they were annual meetings, one after the other, 1 year and then the following year. At neither of those meetings was I present. That's the first thing. Secondly, the council decided, in view of the council's behaviour, they moved that he be removed from all subcommittees. Democracy works that the people round the table voted, and that was agreed. That is democracy.
There's a difference between democracy
And I-
and stitch-up. And I'm afraid, Councillor St John, you were the person, you say he wasn't at that meeting, which is quickly distancing yourself from any wrongdoing, but at the following meeting, you moved the motion, seconded by Councillor Stonebridge, to prevent me from attending finance meetings. Is that true or false?
Chair,
So
I didn't
you want to ask the question because it's
interrupt this councillor while he was asking his question, or indeed making a statement. I'm not trying to disassociate myself from anything. I happen to agree with the decision that the council took, because the council's behaviour was unacceptable.
Right, so when you answer the question...
So if I may finish, Chair,
Yes, sure.
that is not an item for discussion at this meeting.
Right, so will you answer the question now? Did you or did you not move a motion to remove me from the Finance Committee?
Okay.
And I think by the answer of silence, I think you dare admit that it's done wrong in this parish council. And again, I ask you again, Chair, you're discriminating against me. You've discriminated against me on 3 if not 4 occasions. Should you not resign in your position?
No, I don't believe I should, in all honesty.
So do you
Chair,
think
would you like me to read
if
you
you
the
carry on
minutes?
this, if
Would
you,
you like me to
excuse
read you
me,
the
I'm speaking,
minutes?
Chair.
Just 1 minute, John.
If you carry on discriminating against me, do you think I should put you in front of the Standards Committee?
If that's what you decide to do, Stuart, then that's what you decide to do. I genuinely don't believe I am discriminating. You were excluded from the meeting.
So that's the question again then. Why are you excluding me from sitting on the table in finance meetings when you're allowing another councillor to sit on the table when they're not a member of this committee?
What I would say is my main concern is that since the 8th of October, we've been unable to hold a finance and general purpose meeting, and it's quite shocking because the people of Anston are not getting decisions made. With a letter in today from one person asking about, and those items have been on the agenda, and you have stopped us from discussing very relevant issues
So let's
for Anston Parish Council.
let's address this area. On those council meetings, the reason I sit on the table and refuse to move is because they are items of general parish council issues that are put on that agenda deliberately to prevent me from speaking. I was elected by the people of Anston to represent the... Excuse me, we're not having derogatory marks from you, John.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, if
This,
you like,
this is what's
Let me get
happening in
to
this
it.
I'll
council.
read this out, please.
Right? I was elected to represent people of this parish. The Labour Party, Councillor Ireland and Councillor Brindley are preventing me from doing so. So when you start blaming me for withholding meetings and stopping business going forward, remember this, you were part of the conspiracy to vote me off subcommittee meetings in the first place. And when I walked out of that room, you were the one that was making derogatory comments and backstabbing me. So don't come to all good man here. You are responsible, therefore you should resign your permission.
I don't actually believe I've ever backstabbed or made derogatory comments. If you've got proof of that, that's fine. But I honestly don't believe that. What I would say is, I think we need to move on now.
We do, because you can't address
That's
the
it,
position.
sweep it under the
Item
carpet.
10,
Chair, can I read down the minute, please?
I will give you 1 minute, John, to read that out.
Well, Councillor Thornton just said that Ian said what he's supposed to have said, which he didn't say, because if you read the minute, he wasn't even at the meeting. The
No,
clerk-
it's again,
the
it's
clerk-
twisted now.
Stuart, if you excuse me, but let
No,
me just make the comment. John, just read that out,
I'll
please.
read it now. The clerk presented the terms of reference for one committee, 2 subcommittees, and 1 advisory group together with a scheduled meeting. It was resolved that the list of committee structures supplied by the clerk be approved with the exception that Councillor Thornton be removed from the finance and general purpose, from staffing and other that represented the parish council. 4. Councillor Beck, Councillor Brindley, Crowder, Dalton, Ireland, O'Brien, Stonebridge, Wardle. Councillor St John wanted you at the meeting.
Right, let me just reply to that, because
Please,
just look there.
Item 10, please. To resolve to exclude the press and public due to the nature of the business to be
I'm going to
transacted.
mention that Councillor St John was at that meeting.
You said it.
Item 11, to discuss any items for which the press and
The
public have
chairman
been
of the parish
excluded.
council is lying again.
And the date and time of the next meeting, Wednesday the 10th of December 2014.
Just a farce.
Apologies to people, I'm sorry about that, and things
Don't
are getting very
apologise on my
difficult.
behalf, because you're doing that making a
You
farce.
did make derogatory comments about Councillor Thornton.
Is the
He went
meeting-
out of the room and
Is the
you
meeting
made
closed?
most
Meeting's closed, yeah.
I'm just telling you, you made most derogatory comments. In fact, did a hatchet shop. It was disgraceful.
No.
Absolutely disgraceful. And you're supposed to be a Christian man. Yeah, there you go. Consent.
I think they're accepting to make your own comments.
Well, Martin Crowder did. And I've got the notes.
He was,
Yeah,
I'll say that.
yeah, no,
I thought it was that.
Happy scrapping. Dragon Ball?
Are we all right sitting here?
Yes, yes. I've just passed a comment that everybody's avoiding me rapidly.
Well, nobody
So
ever
I'm glad
wants
to see
sit on the
somebody.
front.
No option with this. if you don't want to be filmed by the parish council cameras, there's a spot over there.
No, I don't mind. There's more than one. I printed one off the internet. Good job you're What's the idea of recording the meeting then?
Well, there was a law passed making it legal, but Anston Parish Council had already decided they were going to record the meetings themselves. But they were a little bit lackadaisical at getting cameras, and then a law was passed to say that any meeting can be recorded. So I record it myself, so it can go on to YouTube, Love Dinnington, Parish Council Watch, for anybody who's not able to make it. And also it's a good record if people say, well, I didn't say that. And we never know, we never get to look at the Parish Council record, so
You don't
this
get to
cuts
see
all
the
that out.
reports, do you? With the district council, with the agenda, they distribute all the reports as well.
Right.
We discussed. But
Well,
I noticed they don't.
depending on your point of view.
I'd like to see the report and see, what that says.
Right, well, you should bring that up. There will be question time, about 3 questions down. But I personally think they're a bit lackadaisical in a lot of areas.
What was at the last meeting then I noticed it's
The finance one.
Abandoned. No, the last council meeting.
The council or the charity. The last one was a charity.
No, the last council one that had to be abandoned. Was it some sort of
I'll have to think back because usually we have a few fireworks.
fireworks?
Yes, it's not a one-off.
Oh, right.
So I would have to fertle round in my brain and find out which one. Yes, it is unusual. I don't know why more people have come tonight.
Yeah, if you look at that.
Do you live in Hampstead?
Yeah. I've been to one before.
All right.
I was interested in the planning, what their views on the
I'm wondering,
local planning.
right, well I am wondering if a few of these people are here for that, but what's happened in the past with the green, do you mean the green belt?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's happened in the past is I and a few others pushed them and pushed them and pushed them to make an official complaint as a council
And they did,
to
didn't
Rotherham. Well, only after about 4 months and lots of pushing, eventually they did it, right, and then 2 days after, the 2 borough councillors who also sit here went to Rotherham and voted to build on the green belt. Yes.
Oh, it's fortuitous that it's election time coming up, isn't it?
Well, let's
in
hope
May?
the people of Anston remember.
Exactly.
And also we do have councillors here who were at the time of the CSE were involved and they refused to acknowledge or stand down. There will be some questions about that tonight.
Is that why there's a lot of... That's why I...
No.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why there are a lot of people here, but it may be because of the consultation for the green belt.
Yeah.
Time will tell. This council is made mainly of Labour and they take their orders from Rotherham. They don't look after the parish, in my view.
They're
So
here to represent the residents of Anston, not
Well,
the Labour Party, aren't they?
strictly speaking, there shouldn't be politics at parish level. But unfortunately we've got it. And there's the ringleader over there, Ian St. John.
Right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the November meeting of the Parish Council. I must remind you all that you are actually being filmed, apart from the back corner there, which is people are there exempt from being shown. But these are the cameras here working. Right.
Is the sound on, Chairman?
The sound on from through these microphones here, but no sound is on from you yet. No.
On the building?
No sound is available. It's available now. Yes, it's all on. Item number 2, to allow questions from Anston Parish Council on the recreation ground, which we will pass through to the charity. Any questions on that? To allow representations regarding planning applications within the civil parish of Anston to be considered later in the meeting. The ones later in the meeting are the, proposed development at the former Claxon site, proposed housing development, Penny Beasley.
No.
Sorry, this one. Sorry.
Kennel Lane, South.
Yes, that's right. Kendall's
Tree
Lane.
pruning.
The pruning of the trees on the Bork and extension of ENH at Houghton Lane. That's not applicable. No thanks. No thanks. Oh, sorry. Right, any questions from anybody at this stage? No.
Is it public questions you're asking, John?
I'm asking if anybody got...
Yes, I would like to ask one.
On the planning applications?
Oh, sorry, no. Sorry, I beg your pardon.
Okay. D. One question per elector of the civil parish of Anston on a topic for which the parish council has responsibility. If you'd like to put your hand up and ask. Yes, Mr. Sadler.
I wanted to ask a question about a statement that you made to the advertiser, John.
Yeah, what was that? Can you
Have a photograph. Yes, well, it's quite contrary to what actually was said
Oh, okay.
in the meeting, so I didn't know if you'd changed your mind or
Which one is it?
if
Which
the
advertiser?
advertiser have made a mistake.
Which advertiser is it? Which date?
I've not got a date on this. Last Friday it's
I
one.
don't see last Friday, 'cause I don't take the advertiser.
You've not seen it?
I would take the votes of Guardian. So can you ask me the question?
Well, the reporter, Phil Turner, says that you told him that you're in... Well, these are my words, but you can read this afterwards. That you told him that you were going to allow public filming of the charity. And that if we had waited, you would have brought that up. But my understanding was that you actually told me not to film.
The decision made at the... Oh, we'll wait. We'll take all the questions first. Next question. Mrs. Stranahan.
Child sexual exploitation in Anston.
Yeah, what's the question?
About child sexual exploitation in Anston.
Well, can you be more specific so we know what
Yes,
we're talking about?
at the last meeting I asked regarding this, and the meeting, you closed the meeting at 9:30, and the public didn't get a chance to have their questions at the end of the meeting because you voted to not allow standing orders to increase the meeting by 15
That's
minutes.
right.
So I want to carry on from there, please.
So what's the question?
It's about child sexual exploitation.
Well, that's not the question. Can you answer the question?
It's about child exploitation in Anston, and what do councillors know about it?
I think Councillor Thornton... No, sorry. Yeah. Councillor Jepson answered that. He said that to his knowledge there was no record of anything...
No, I've seen the question and I want to...
Okay, right. Right, who else?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Lewis.
now that Sean Wright is now gone, shouldn't the senior advisors to Sean Wright also have to stand down?
Yeah, okay. Right, anyone else?
Webster.
Mrs. Webster.
I'd like to ask the councillors if they're aware of the recent government guidance, planning guidance, specifically on the green belt, where the government has said they would protect green belt, and that local plans and specifically planners at the borough council level are advising councillors that they must release green belt land in order to meet targets, housing targets. the government advice that was issued after the local plan consultation is that that is not the case, and that councils need not meet housing targets if it means releasing greenbelt land.
Right. Anybody else?
I'd just like to ask a question on whether or not council would be backing new trading estate that's proposed at Togwell.
It's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda later on.
Right.
Yeah. It's on the agenda. Yeah. Right, that's it. Yes, Bill?
Some of the questions on behalf of the Friends of Aniston Burial Ground. In a meeting of a few meetings ago, perhaps the recent one which Councillor Derrick, Clive I come down in relation to our role and relationship with the parish council workers. I would like to ask him if he wants to keep to raise this question again, because there are certain things we'd maybe like to do with the cemetery burial ground area. And I can understand that we should ask permission from the council, approval, but this seems to be taking a long time to get done. We come down to have a word with them at the meetings of council. We come back down the next month. 3 months now, we've been waiting to find out exactly what he wants our role to be or to discuss it.
Okay, Bill. Anybody else?
Simon Bunker.
Sam?
Bunker, B-U-N-K-E-R.
Yeah.
It's about the budget questionnaire on your website. Just want to know how people are supposed to make informed opinion about whether it's too much or too little that's being proposed to spend on different budget areas when there's no information about how those figures are being arrived at. E.g. £10,000 to deal with the trees in Anston Woods. Well, how's that figure being arrived at? Have any estimates been brought up? Just want more information before you fill in the boxes.
Yeah.
More information could be given.
Okay. Any more? Right, we'll go back first on Mrs. Sadler. Something I suppose to have said or out of the newspaper. Could you read it to me?
Well, it might be helpful, John, if you could just make the position clear on the council's policy on filming the charity meeting.
I said that if there was no provision for filming, but because everybody wanted it and it was later to be discussed in the meeting, then it will be permitted. So you were permitted to film, and I made it quite clear it was on the agenda later on.
That is not my understanding of what happened.
Okay.
But are you now saying that is the policy of the council, that we will in future be able to film charity meetings?
That's the charity, it's got nothing to do with the council.
I thought the council was in charge of the charity.
No.
Am I mistaken?
You are, the council are the sole trustee, that's all.
That's all?
The council.
That's everything, John.
The council.
The council, as a body, is the sole trustee.
Yeah.
So none of the councillors present are trustees in their own right. Is that correct?
Because they are councillors.
Right. So...
But I'm not a trustee.
No.
Everybody's not a trustee. Stuart's not a trustee.
No,
but the council are a trustee. And we are councillors, so...
Just remember, John, it is on record what you said.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
I did film the meeting, the charity meeting, so it's all on record.
That's right.
Right, and you didn't say that. Could I have your policy now?
You're allowed to film in meetings.
The charity meeting.
We have done that already. Yeah, and council. Have we done charity? Yes, explain to me.
There is a legal difference between the charity and the council. The council comes under the openness regulations. In legislation, it has to allow filming. The charity is a totally separate legal entity. It does not have to allow filming. The charity passed a resolution whereby it said that the charity can film itself, which it has done, but it would not allow other people to film those proceedings. That ruling is still standing, and really the charity shouldn't be looking at renegotiating that agreement until 6 months has passed. So that's the position we're in.
Right, I understand that.
If the chairman allowed the suspension of standing orders to allow the charity to, or to allow the public to film during that charity meeting, then that was relevant to that one particular charity meeting. But as far as the charity is concerned, what was passed, and that was that the public should not be filming those meetings, and that's how it still stands at this moment in time, until the charity revisits that particular resolution.
So what are you saying then, John? That the report in the Advertiser is false?
I don't know what I can't comment on the advertiser. I've not read
Well,
it.
it conflicts completely with what you've just said.
I don't take the Rotherham Advertiser. Okay.
Right,
So
okay.
I don't know what's been written down.
I'll give this to you
Yes, if you would.
afterwards.
I'd like to read it then.
Right, but I would like to make the point that the charity of which Anston Parish Council is the sole trustee
Yeah.
is not strictly run on the lines of a charity where every member is a trustee in their own right, and therefore the rules are different.
Well, I can't answer that. I take advice from our
Okay.
advisor.
Can I make a point, Chair? Just
Yeah, if you
before I
wish.
go back? I'd make a point. The first thing is, 2 points. First one you just spoke, and I'll speak about the article in the Advertiser. The first point, we had this argument at the charity meeting, or whether the public were allowed to film or not.
Yeah.
I objected strongly to your decision not to allow them to film. And the reason I objected was the parish council is the sole trustee, as you quite rightly said this week, which you didn't say last week, of the charity. Members sit around this table in the capacity as parish councillors, not as trustees. Not like the last meeting when you said we sat around the table as trustees. We are summoned by the parish clerk on note paper headed Anston Parish Council, and as I said previously, we attend this meeting as parish councillors. It's an open public meeting, and therefore, in my opinion, it should be allowed to film. Although we run under the rules of the charity, we are here as councillors. Now, what I find even more astonishing over and above that is, as a charity, oblique council, we are refusing and not allowing members of the public to film us while we debate issues, but we, with these 2 cameras, are filming the public. I think that's morally irreprehensible.
Yeah.
Irreprehensible, if we get the right word. Right, that's the first point. The second point is on this article that's in the Advertiser. You were obviously contacted by the Advertiser chairman to make some form of statement. The statements you made, some of them were inaccurate and false. One of them was you said the charity meeting is a private meeting for councillors. That's not true. This is not the first time I've brought up the subject of articles in newspapers that you, Chairman, are quoting to them and coming out with wrong and incorrect facts. As Chairman, if you're going to quote facts on behalf of the Parish Council, they have to be true and they have to be correct. Otherwise you're letting the whole council down.
When I don't summons people to the charity meetings because the charity requests the presence of people as opposed to the council, which does summon members to attend. When I act in the capacity of clerk to the trust, that's what I am, clerk to the trust, not the clerk to the parish council. And the headed paper that comes from the charity is headed the Anston Parish Council Recreation Ground Registered Charity, because that is the name of that registered charity. So it's not the Anston Parish Council headed paper, it's Anston Parish Council Recreation Ground Registered Charity headed paper.
Well, can I just come back on that, Chair? If the clerk, but the clerk cannot be the clerk to the trust, because the clerk is employed by the parish council. He's not employed by the charity. Therefore, he can only be clerk to the parish council.
Chair. Right, can we just answer that and then we'll move on, because we're getting nowhere.
On the point of who employs who, I mean, the parish council employs the cleaners, but the cleaners work for the parish council recreation ground. charity.
So they were, sorry to contradict you, but they actually work for the parish council, and we, the parish workers, do work inside this building on behalf of the parish council. Is that not true?
Chair, could we please make progress?
So you think an answer?
His amendment should be
Mr.
seconded,
Stradley, you asked about
discussed and voted on.
the child problem, the children's problem, experienced in Rotherham as queried in Anston. You know what
I didn't ask about the children's problem. I asked about child sexual exploitation.
But I would have thought that was a problem. Would you like to answer?
Just a minute, I will.
Yeah. The question's already been asked, and I've got them written down. That's why I asked you at the beginning to give the question, not for you to go into a long spiel about it.
Wait a minute, don't jump the gun, John.
Yeah.
At the last meeting, I asked the councillors, the borough councillors, who were on the borough council whilst this atrocious business was taking place. It seems we've got collective amnesia on this, but I did ask Councillor St John what he knew about it, because he was at the notorious 2005 seminar. No denying that. Professor Jay says in her report that anyone who was at that seminar would know, could not deny knowing about child sexual exploitation. I did ask Councillor St John, as an attendee at that seminar, just what he took from that seminar and what he knew about it. And he said he didn't know any of the children. Now, I wanted to come back on that, but you refused to relax standing orders and the meeting closed. So I want to know now, Councillor St John, what did you know and what did you do when you were told about this atrocious business of child sexual exploitation going on in Rotherham?
Well, I thought that Councillor St John answered
And I
this
think Councillor St John, thank you, Chairman.
You asked your questions through me, and
Yes,
last time when he answered the question, he said he had no knowledge of anything to do with Anston.
No, he did not. He said.
Anyway, this is not.
He said, excuse me. He said that he didn't know any of the children.
Well, that's
what he said, and that wasn't.
Can I, Chair, can I attempt, if I'm not interrupted, can I attempt to answer this again?
Yeah, again.
I said last time, can we finally put this to bed?
No.
Now,
Sorry, no.
That is the way that part of the people present wish to denigrate democracy.
Do you want to put it to the vote, Ian?
And it's not.
You need to listen to the public.
The question was asked. It is. I thought actually it was 2004. The seminar.
There was one in 2004, but I'm talking particularly about.
Please, will you please not interrupt? You've asked a question. Let me give me the courtesy of answering.
Give me a correct answer then.
Excuse me, Chair.
Chair. Speak to me, man.
Chair, will you ask Councillor Sidgwick not to shout at members of the public and not to raise his voice at them?
It's the only way he can get himself.
No, it's not.
We're under a code of conduct.
Right, okay.
And members are not allowed to be raised.
Yeah, you're not allowed to stand up.
Let's go back.
You've got a point of order.
If Councillor Thornton would kindly sit down. I believe there may very well have been 2 seminars. My diaries tell me that I was at 1. I thought it was 2004. All councillors were invited. I have no idea how many other people were there. A presentation was given, the details of which I cannot remember because it's at least 9 or 10 years ago, about child sexual exploitation in Rotherham. Questions were asked, including by me, because I do remember that, and the answer given, we were told no details about the children concerned. You wouldn't be.
I'm not talking specifically.
Please do not interrupt me. We were not given details of the children concerned, but we listened with a degree, well, obviously of interest and also horror. A number of councillors asked what is happening, and we were told that officers and members of South Yorkshire Police were dealing with these problems. It was not, I repeat again, it was not a problem of the area which I served, which basically was lifelong learning and culture and leisure services. I did not know the details, and I repeat that. You see, it's okay, Mrs. Estrada Hayes, to keep coming back with the same question, because what you would like to hear is me or any other councillor saying, I knew this, this and this, and knowing all that, I did nothing. Now that is not true.
Right, next question from Mr. Thompson.
Excuse me, I wish to come back.
Sorry, no, you cannot. Please, one question has been answered. Mr. Thompson, your question about the cemetery.
Where's mine?
I'm deciding to change the order of these questions because the people who ask questions like Mr. Thompson have been trying to get this question answered for 3 months. So we're going to answer Mr. Thompson's question now. Would you like to say, Bill, do you want some clarification as to...
No, I just want Clive to explain. You had a question down about 3 meetings ago. You had our role within the parish council or something, or in connection with the parish council. We'd like to go over some work, but what we're finding is we can't get it to you to get an answer to get the
Can I just make a suggestion? I totally agree with you. I mean, I've had this item on, in fact I've had 1 or 2 other than that never seemed any nearer getting discussed. Am I right in understanding do you have a meeting on a Thursday?
There's one this Thursday.
This Thursday? Would that be alright would that be alright if I came actually and met you then? I mean, I don't know whether the clerk's here then, but perhaps we can discuss. I know there's an item on tonight, so I mean, I'd quite prepared to come down on Thursday morning and discuss the entire thing with you, see if we can make some progress. Because it's not on tonight's agenda, it will not be on until the finance meeting in December, at best, if we get through that. So, you know, where things are going, we could be talking about January at this rate. So I'm quite prepared to come down on Thursday morning, if you want, to go through these issues and see if we can get some sort of common ground and see where we are. Whether Michael is in attendance on Thursday, I don't know whether we
That's all right. That's okay.
We're meeting here at 10:30.
Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Would that be ever help if we can do
Can I just come in a minute?
Yeah.
Right. It was my understanding that provided you had the parish workers with you, you could do work.
This is the sort of thing I'd like to discuss with Clive.
Right, because it's all down to an insurance issue. And if as long as the parish workers are there with you, because I think the clerk spoke on this as well, I'm not sure, I think we've authorised it. As long as you have a parish worker with you present, then you're covered by the insurance. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. The parish workers with them is covered by insurance. But it needs to discuss that.
Well, I thought it had already been discussed, but it'll have to be clarified.
Right, oh, that's okay, Bill, you're going to do that on Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, if Michael can get them, I know we've got an item on tonight, can we include that in it as well and work his way through it? I think there's an item on about the plaque tonight. Can we include that in as a general discussion? And see if we can move forward on all these issues. I mean, it seems to be the best way of doing it because we can always come back to council, at least if we can find some, agree things before then, it makes sense rather than wait, because I think everybody loses the thread after a couple of months as to where we are and what we're looking to do. So if,
just a way to speed us up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite willing to do that. I'll come down on Thursday morning. That's okay. Michael can get.
Right.
So I think he needs to have some input into the meeting as well. So
Right, okay.
clear. So if you're happy with that, I'll do that.
All right, thank you. A question from Mrs Webster regarding the Green Belt.
Sorry, Chairman.
Yeah.
Where am I?
Well, you're going to have to wait your turn.
Oh, at Turden.
You always are.
I know.
That wasn't very
Mrs
Is it
Webster,
a penalty or something?
I'm trying to make the meeting move on. And these people...
I know you tried to pass me by. Again,
no,
again,
you'll
and
get
again.
your turn. Mrs Webster.
You really don't like the question.
Yes, I asked my question earlier on.
Yes, it's about it's the council's feeling about the Green Belt.
Were they aware that the government has issued guidance subsequent to the issue of the local plan that's under consultation, and I see it's on your agenda to talk about tonight, and the latest guidance is that the council does not have to give up greenbelt land to meet housing targets. So the government wants councils to protect housing, protect greenbelt land, and I think that should be your
This is
response.
already it's been passed through the council that we are opposed to all building on greenbelt. And as far as I'm concerned, we can't.
Except for the two borough councillors who agreed with it in Rotherham. One was Councillor Burton.
All the rules have changed, but as far as I'm concerned, we've already agreed that we will oppose building on greenbelt.
Councillor Burton hasn't.
I think if I can just repeat what I said at the time, and I know things have moved on since then and changed, I said that, and I think it was a resolution, we said we should explore every single possibility we had of developing brownfield sites and or other possibilities before going to greenbelt land. That's what I said. Because I did recognise that there's a housing need. But I'm very, I'm delighted and welcome this statement that if the government is going to help us to protect greenbelt land, that's really, well, as I said, it's extremely welcome, and it gives us a lot of ammunition then to defend those areas that we would like to defend.
But you agreed to build on it, Councillor Burton. Is that correct?
I think everyone else will appreciate
not the debating.
I would just like the facts to come out.
Stuart, what do you got to say?
Right. See if I can try and answer your question if I can. I think it's always been the position that the government has said you should be building on greenbelt. I'm not an expert at that level on this issue. Rotherham Council have known since this LDF began that they do not have to take greenbelt, they can take brown belt sites first. And they've been lobbied extensively. I mean, Councillor Burton's nodding her head, but she was the one that voted at the core structure to accept the core structure. The RMBC have been lobbied quite hard, and I'll give fair due to Councillor Jepson, and I've lobbied them, and other parish councillors have at the town hall, to build on green belt sites first, to build on brown belt sites first. RMBC are now saying we will try to build on brown sites. In my personal opinion, there's no intention of trying to build on brownfield sites. They're quite happy to steal the green belt. And looking around, I know there's some people here that was at the last consultation up at the resource centre. I was quite disgusted at some of the answers that were coming back from RMBC councillors. I couldn't get a straight answer on any question that I asked on housing numbers, on the traveller side, and the houses down by Pennypiece. The answers were all over the place. Rotherham will build on greenbelt land whether you like it or not. I was told at that resource centre, basically, we're having the traveller site, whether we like it or not, and we're having the housing down at Pennypiece. It wasn't a consultation, it's never been a consultation, it's a sham, because people of Anston, Dinnington, and everywhere else in the world have not been listened to. But you're right, greenbelt should not be built on until all the brownfield sites. And when Councillor Burton quotes that there's a housing shortage, I disagree, because if there was a housing shortage...
This is public session or council session?
I disagree, because if there was a housing shortage, the 200 houses at the Woodside at Dinnington would have been up and sold by now.
Right.
There is no shortage of housing in Anston. The figures show.
Mr. Lewis, you want to know if the people who were the senior advisors to what do you call them, the police commissioner, I don't even know who it was, so sure, should be asked to stand down, or what? Is that the gist of your question? Surely.
Mr. Chairman,
Well, you've asked your
the
question.
meeting in 2005 was 31st of May.
Mr. Lewis,
Cabinet
Mr.
and
Lewis,
for children
Mr. Lewis,
and young
can I
people.
interrupt you? We're not bothered about 2005. I'm talking
Yeah,
about
we are.
Yes, we are, John.
in November.
Yeah.
You've asked a question. Do we think that these people should stand down? As far as I'm concerned, I'm quite happy to
No, we're not getting away with it.
I'm quite happy to let
Cabinet
the cause of
members
justice go its own
for
way.
children and young people services.
Yeah, I can't
Senior
understand.
advisor, children and young people services. Councillor Burton.
It's not our business what happens.
Yes, it is.
Councillor,
Excuse me.
Councillor Burton was on
Mr. Kavanagh, what have you
shown right on the children and young people court during 2006,
He's gone, he's had the sack, he's finished.
2007,
Excuse me, Chair.
2008.
Excuse me, Chair.
These are the
Mr. Lewis,
meetings.
Mr. Lewis, can I stop you quiet? Excuse me, Chair. Did we answer Mr. Lewis's question?
No.
And the second point is, we shouldn't be making derogatory remarks against people in the public forum.
Oh, I
We're
didn't know
not.
I'd done that.
No, he says,
Mr.
no,
Lewis.
you just made a derogatory remark against
I
him.
did, Mr. Lewis, as far as I'm concerned, I'm quite happy to let the system take its course and deal with all these people.
Let me just tell you some at meetings where Councillor Burton was at in 2007, what, 27th of September, 17th of October, 15th of November, 29th of November and 13th of December.
Mr. Kavanagh, you want a question about
In 2006, 26th of February, 10th of June, 20th of June, 10th of October, 28th of November. She was also on the scrutiny board that looked at the minutes from the children and young people's board, and from 3rd of March.
Chairman,
2005,
you need
it's
to make a
clear
decision
they
on what you're doing. You cannot carry on like this.
I'm asking you all to sit down.
Right, and make a decision. Make a decision.
The progress is that I've answered Mr. Lewis as far as I'm concerned as chairman that we'll let things take their own course.
It doesn't
You don't like questions.
He's asking the council, not you. He's asking the council.
I'd like to ask whether or not the council is in agreement with the new trading estate that's proposed to talk about.
Probably don't know that.
It's got a lot to do with it. And I'm asking questions.
Can I?
Right, Kev.
Well, I'll
Well, it does have a lot to do with Anston, but ladies, you say, what does that have to do with Anston? Well, if you watch on YouTube other council meetings, other council meetings, well I do, but other council meetings, councillors from Anston were against this new trading estate in Dinnington. Yeah, Todwick, sorry. Councillors who attended the meeting.
I'll answer the question for you.
Go on, no, you want to.
Can I just, I'd like to go back to Ms Webster's question actually, because I'm behind up to answer that one when I got overruled. If I just address that one.
Stand down.
No, we didn't, or we haven't had any advice from Central Government on planning law. I'd just like to pick up on what Councillor Thornton said. As a parish council, we've never really discussed the core strategy. We didn't have a discussion on it, we didn't vote against it. We didn't really have a discussion on the LDF sites and policies proposals. It was a thing that came up, I think, at the annual meeting about building on brownfield sites first, which is not really a discussion on the sites and policies. The only site that we made a decision on last year was to object to the Gypsy Traveller site at Southampton, Kiwi Power Station. We've never made a decision on any other of the proposed sites. I have personally, as a Borough Council resident, I don't know whether any other councillors have. 3 councillors off this parish council voted in favour of the core strategy in September, which basically gives the green light for the LDF. I objected to it. The 3 other councillors, Councillor Dalton and Councillor Burton, voted in favour of it. And I'm sorry, but that's basically the infrastructure that sets up the rest of the LDF. So that's where we are at the moment. We've got the other items on the agenda. If I can just address Kevin's point, I don't know if you're referring to me attending meeting to the town council or other councils.
Well,
I attended Dinnington Town Council as a resident, not as a council.
You did. And you were against trading estate at
It wasn't really, I didn't say I was against it. I think the town council voted against it, if I remember correctly.
No.
I'm not in favour of it anyway, I'll tell you that now.
But as an Anston councillor, I think that you should be looking deeper into this because we've got
well, yeah, see, I have a problem with this because I was the only Borough Council went to the core strategy hearings with the inspector last year. I had 63. There was me, which shows how much interest other councils take.
Well, that's not a question I'm asking.
Well, I'm giving you a response to it. And last year at that meeting, they proposed to build houses and a school on that area.
That is true. He was
and
the
it was turned
only
down by the
one to
inspector
turn
and
up.
also the Borough Council planners. For some reason, we now have an area equivalent to the size of Todwick that they're wanting to develop as industrial and employment land. It was never shown on the sites and policies document last year. It suddenly appeared, so nobody at this point in time, I don't know what they're proposing. But whatever they're proposing, if they develop it to that scale, it's going to have a knock-on effect on the traffic and everything else in this area. Sorry?
Quite a good debate you got involved in it, didn't it?
Well, I wasn't involved in the debate, because you're only allowed to ask a question, not part of the debate. I mean, other residents were involved in the debate, and so were the town councillors.
Can I come in, please, John, as well?
Yeah. We don't know that much about it, other than it's a massive area.
You do look because you did actually say that, you did actually, no, don't look at me like that.
No, I mean, we're not having a discussion, no, it's Councillor Thornton can answer you.
No, I'm asking you a question because you're the person I agreed with it, against it. So what I'm asking is, you said that there were land...
Shall I tell you, I think you've been selective here.
There were 34 acres further down across from South Yorkshire Caravans that had already been prepared for industrial use, which it has, and you said that Rotherham Council would pay for that, but they didn't. Because
I didn't say that at all. I don't know who's paid for it.
Well, I think they got a grant, it was from Yorkshire Forward.
It might well have been from Yorkshire Forward when they were in existence.
Yeah.
But if you look at the video...
Going back to my question about the trading estate, I don't think that councillors should just jump on bandwagon like they're doing with housing and say, no, 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 no. I think you need to discuss things and you need to look around area and see what is required, because we've got a serious problem down at Kiverton with lorries coming through Southampton. And I think that if you can put units nearer to motorway, there might be a chance that this lorry company could actually move up nearer to.
The lorry company could move to Dinnington, as far as I'm concerned, on that site that's already there. The point I made at Dinnington Town Council was, let me finish, Kevin. The point I made at Dinnington Town Council was they should develop that site first before they think about moving to the one at Todwick Round.
Well, yeah,
that was the point I made. Right, not that I was against it. I'm entering into a debate with you.
Kevin, can I move on? Because
just one more item to ask you, because the item was that I know you were asking me in that way, and so they could have gone onto this site, didn't they?
That's what I said.
But I've done my own work. 10 lorries coming out of Kiverton Park, the distance from Todwick to Kiverton saves £5 per day in fuel on each vehicle, which totals £12,000 per year at that company.
Well, you put that forward to the Borough Council in support.
Kevin, can we move on? Because this is an item later on in the agenda.
Sorry.
It's item number 10 on the agenda. So we're going to take...
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question now?
You said that I could come in.
I have to ask a question.
Mr. Bunker.
Excuse me, Chair, you said that I could come in and make a
We
reply.
haven't got any time to it now. Come, Mr. Bunker.
Yeah, it was just about on your website. You've got a questionnaire regarding next year's budget. This year's budget, where you've put figures against certain items. You've given no supporting information at all as to how those figures have been arrived at, or what you can get for that source of money. So I don't see how any of us can make any decisions for or against.
It's very difficult, you see, because it's
not.
last year's budget that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Last year's budget, that's what you're talking about, because we haven't done this year's yet.
For this year.
But it was at the discussion time of last week, and it's very difficult to put down every penny that we have to discuss. We try and go through everything. I mean, for instance, trees, that's a health and safety thing, and that's what the railway have decided. Trees, £10,000, and we've already had, how many have we put down? We've cut 6 down already, and that's cost us what? Well, it doesn't matter, it's cost us money anyway. So, if there's any further things that you want to know about the budget, the thing is to get in touch with us immediately and you'll be answered straight away. But I mean, we're asking for something now.
They're correct that the budget figure, or the budget things you've seen on the website are last year's. The idea was that we fix a budget and then we would put it out to the public for comments. What actually happened was only part of the budget went out, the parts that of the wages for the employees, the 10,000 for the woods and 1 or 2 other items, I can't remember off the top of my head. Them decisions, I will tell you now, them decisions were already made before they went out for consultation. And in my opinion, my personal opinion, there was no intention of changing them figures. We are having another consultation this year, although as a council, yet again, we've left it late.
and it's going to be a rush to get the consultation in.
Chair.
Well, I would turn around, excuse me, I'm still talking. Excuse me, I'm still talking.
Stuart,
But I would say,
rambling on
don't
about.
hold your breath.
Look, the reason that you're not getting into stuff now is that the last 4 meetings were cancelled, but they were on the agenda at the time. And we'd have had that already now to go, but for 4 meetings, we had to cancel them. Now we are in the process, it's on the agenda tonight, fix up the dates for these meetings in November, which we wanted a month earlier, but we weren't able to discuss it for some reasons.
But
So I'm going to move on.
Let's come back, because what is the point of the questionnaire, which doesn't provide with any information on which to base the decision?
Well,
I mean, you know,
yeah,
what's the hourly rate for cutting
Mr.
trees?
Runker.
How do we know we're getting value for money?
Mr. Bunker, last year was the first time we tried to get it through to the members of the public. We can only get better, can't we?
True.
Right. I now declare the meeting open. The closing of the public session, the opening of the parish council meeting. Number 1, receive apologies for absence in the book. 4. All those in favour? Opposed? To disclose members, persons interested in the item to be discussed.
Are you holding your tongue?
To disclose any members' personal interests.
Stick it on
Items to
here.
be discussed. To identify items for which the press and public may be excluded or not. Possibly 14.3, which is to discuss a letter from Lafarge Tarmac Trading Limited regarding Lindrick and Brandcliffe quarries.
Can you tell me why that, would be classed?
It's not
I think it's in the public interest.
It's not written in stone, it's just a
No,
suggestion.
but why would you suggest that may well be confidential?
Yeah, because it could be contractual.
If it becomes contractual, we can cross that bridge, but I think that's put in the public interest.
But the discussion will decide whether it becomes contractual or not.
Chair, I will, because we have discussed this in a previous council meeting, I would suggest that we deal with this in open session. My personal view is if Lafarge Tarmac are offering land, in principle we might say yes, and then go into further details with them. And if it does come down to money, then that would be an item to be taken without the present public present.
Okay, fine. We'll talk about it when it comes on the agenda. To confirm the minutes of the meeting, Parish Council meeting held on Monday the 20th of October.
Agreed.
Before we run the rush to the meeting, can I make some comments, please, Chair?
Anything?
I'd just like to ask a couple of questions. On page 3 or 4,
Yeah.
on the top paragraph, all the writing there, at the end, this is about we change standing orders about filming at public meetings.
Yeah.
Now, we just had a discussion tonight about these cameras being on, filming members of the public. It says in these changed standing orders, there is an expectation that reporting will focus on the proceedings of the meeting and those who are participating, rather than those who are simply attending. So why are we filming the public if that standing order is now being changed?
Chair, could I suggest that what we're doing here, this is the way the rules of councils, we are confirming the minutes. If a particular councillor says that is not true, then we can vote on that, but we can move on. It is not the intention to have another discussion about what we talked about at the last meeting.
Well, I didn't say one, I didn't say anything.
Could I confirm the accuracy
All
of the
right,
minutes?
I've made the point, but don't put words in my
So
mouth.
you accept the accuracy of the minutes?
Right, can I also go on to 7014 directly below it, please? That is management of recording at parish council meetings. It is resolved that the NALC draft rules for the effective management of recording at parish council meetings be adopted as a draft proposal. How can we adopt a draft proposal? Or have we not finalised that proposal?
Well, my understanding of it is that first of all we have to decide to put something towards the towards the council for adoption. So you've got to have a draft first, haven't you? Otherwise you've got no discussion point.
Yeah, but it says here, we resolved to adopt a draft proposal. Surely that draft part has to be wrong. All right, we haven't got an answer, so I'll go on to the next
Chair, could
one.
I help?
Yeah.
My brain reels. What we were faced with was NALC or wherever offering some draft proposals. Right? We resolved to accept them. There's no conflict in that.
Well, it is because we can't. A draft proposal is a suggestion. If we adopt a draft proposal, it's no longer a draft proposal.
Chair, with respect, it's mutilating the English language. They were offered as a draft.
Yeah.
We accepted them. They were still a draft, but we have accepted them.
That's correct.
Right, I've made my point anyway, Chair. Can we go on to another one? 7214 communications. And this is in regard to the letter from St James's Church. If you remember, we had a very long and strained discussion on whether you were going to contact the vicar regarding the Bugler and police. Did you contact them?
I shall spoke to Vicky, yes.
That's all right, thank you.
Are we just confirming the accuracy of the minutes,
Yes.
or are we dramatising I'm confused?
We're just a true record of what
A true record of what happened. So it's not a matter of...
Someone proposed that
We
this
have the
is
right to question
The
it.
third time,
We don't
yes.
accept it. Because you don't.
all those in favour, please show. Right. To receive minutes of the Finance Committee meetings, the 8th, the 14th, the 20th and the 3rd of November.
Agree. I propose we receive those.
All those in favour, please show. I've just received them, yes. To approve grants, see checks list for details.
Chair. I've looked at all those in detail and I would like to move them without exception.
Stuart?
Yeah, I would like to ask, I mean, we have an agenda item to approve grants. I've turned up at the meeting tonight. I had a quick look at this document you've just placed in front of us. Can I ask the question is, why wasn't these items put on the agenda? How are we supposed to make, should we say, educated decisions of the council when we're getting bits of paper put in front of us 5 minutes before we sit down? The full list of who we're making grants to should have been put in front of councillors 3 days ago.
Yeah, well, this is one of the problems you get when we miss out for finance meetings. I'm
No,
afraid.
no, it's nothing to do with the finance
So
meetings.
we've
Don't
had a
twist it.
proposal.
Just because you're incompetent, Chair, don't twist it on me.
On the point of order, can we just nail this? I may not agree with you as chair, but I do not think you have to have this continual barracking and rudeness from this member of the council.
He told me at a meeting, he's
I'm
there
just
to
raising
look
a
after
valid
you.
point and you're going against it.
Yeah,
Can I, just about these grants, I think what the issue is, I think that these are grants that we've made fairly regularly.
Yeah.
Most years they are voluntary organisations, aren't they?
Yeah, and there are grants that
in
are
the community.
They're given out at the awards evening.
They're in Anston and we want to support them. So I think the feeling was that we probably wouldn't need to spend too much time because, you know, the amount hasn't changed
Yeah,
at all.
it's £50 for things outside the village and £100 for things in the village.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, there's £100 for the Nitton District Children's Day.
Yeah, but that's because it's here. It's based here. It just happens to be called the Dinniton District, but I know that there's at least half the members from Anston anyway.
Oh, right, that's all right.
Chair, can I ask another question, please? Have we received copies of the financial accounts from all these groups?
I wouldn't think so.
Right, because we have a policy that if anybody wants to ask for a grant, they normally send in their financial
I'm told
accounts.
by the clerk that yes, we have got these.
Right, so again, why have
They
we
don't
not
come to
seen
me
them?
personally, but
So why have we not been shown them? Them finances might point out something to us as councillors that we may disagree with and say, well, that particular group might not.
well, if you'd like to just go through them on the sheet here, we can
I've no
just-
objections, John.
I'm sure
I'm questioning the process.
finances are available for anyone who wants to see them.
Right. Can I have a proposal, please?
I move we make these grants as listed.
Okay. So that's including all the payments?
No, do the grants first.
Just the grants, okay. All those in
Can I
favour?
just ask you a question, Chair?
Yeah.
That comes within the amount that we sent for separate grants this year.
Yes, we've got a second. All those in favour, please show. Right, the rest of the payments.
Can I move that we make those as well, Chair?
Comment.
Yes.
There's a payment 509221. Now, I accept that probably last year that was below the financial threshold and that it wasn't anticipated to go over this year. But I think we ought to note that it's gone over the threshold now for requiring quotes. And we've now got 12 months to get quotes for next year. I don't want us to arrive at a situation next year where we are asked to suspend financial regulations. I think we need to get this nailed. John.
I think you explained this to you, why it's got this figure.
Yeah, I can fully accept that this year it's gone over and it might not have been anticipated.
It's actually below the threshold, because it's supposed to be over.
Fair enough.
Okay. All those in favour, please? All those second. All those in favour? All those in favour, please show.
Excuse me, Chair, what we're voting for?
We're voting for all the rest of the payments now.
221 onwards.
Having already done. Yeah, now the grant, this is for the payment. Right, that's question. To approve payments and sign cheques. Yeah, we've done that. To agree budget dates for budget meetings.
I mean, Mike's key, because obviously we need Mike at the meetings, so we really need Mike to put some suggestions forward.
Yeah, do you want daytime, evening?
Daytime
or evening?
I think a mix, because then you get people who
How many
are
meetings do we have?
working.
Yeah, we'll have as many meetings as we need. Shall we suggest half and half, alternate them?
Can I suggest, I mean, we'll have as many meetings as we need.
Yeah.
I mean, how many is that? You can't just say we're going to have never-ending meetings.
Oh, we don't know, do we? We don't know till
I'm
we
just
start.
saying, can we have a decision? The other thing I would like to see is more of the meetings held at night time, because there are people who have to work during the day and may find it difficult to get off.
How many did we have last year?
Three.
What was that?
I think if really, Mike, we could put 2 initial dates out, and then we'll see where we go from there and agree to the meeting.
And after them in the evening?
That would be my preference.
Two for the evening. So can we leave that to you? Can we leave that to the clerk? Yeah, clerk.
Can I just make a comment here? Last year, I think we were late getting them on the council website. Again, I think we really need to make as quick as possible. And to bear in mind Mr. Bunker's comments about consultation, whatever, various other people's feelings on that. I think we need to, it's not giving us a great deal of time. By the end of November, I think we really need to have everything sorted out. So we've basically only got 2 and a bit weeks, and bear in mind, I don't think we'll get to know some of the allocation from the council till in the new year, it's like last year. So are we going to give that a bit longer for consultation if we can? I know we're sort of like in the second guessing here, but if we could extend that into January, because I don't think we're going to get information from Rob and more central government until Christmas time. Last year, that was passed through to us till mid-January, nearly the end of the month. So I'm trying to give the members of the public at least 4 or 5 weeks to be consulted on the website.
We did say we'd actually set 2 budgets though, based on not knowing the obligation figure. That wasn't something we already had to do.
I was reading some other stuff this week as well. I think there's also a chance that It was mentioned last year by Yorkshire Local Council. Mr Pickles may well look at the larger precept parish council with a view to the referendum clause and things like that. So I think we have to be conscious that we're probably one of the bigger precept setting parish councils, certainly probably the biggest in Rotherham. And nothing's certain at this stage what we're going to get from anybody.
So can we leave it to our clerk to arrange those?
So let's make the point.
Yeah.
I apologise now, I'm going on holiday for a week, which is unfortunate. And the only person who really, or two people who are indispensable are the clerk and Martin as chair of finance.
The chair is indispensable. We're all quite out of the finance.
Right, can I...
Chair, it is very, very difficult. I'm continually interrupted. I think that is rude. My mother would turn in her grave if I attempted that kind of rudeness to other people. And there is only one councillor that does it. Can I make the point?
Only one councillor gets bullied as well by you.
Stuart,
Martin is essential. And I very much hope that I can get to at least one of those meetings.
It's essential that the chairman of the finance and the clerk are there.
Yep, okay.
Can you arrange that as soon as possible? So we'll leave it to the clerk to arrange the first one as soon as possible. Thank you. To consider planning matters, transport issues and receive reports. There are no items for the civil parish of Anston. List 44, there's the extension to Dog Kennel Lane.
Leave it to the neighbours.
I've been had a look at this, Chair. It's just straightforward. It's an extension, first floor and at the back, I think, but it's only two neighbours on there, so, and the plans were legible as well.
So we accept those, right? The other one is, which we've asked for, actually, the pruning of trees on the walk. Bedroom's a bit lower, they need to be lifted up a bit.
Can I ask a question on that, Lord Chambers? Do we own that land?
No.
Well, I asked you the question, not the clerk.
No.
Do we own that land?
No, we don't own that
Right.
land.
Who owns it?
It's the borough.
Right, so why are we paying to cut their trees down?
Under licence, we maintain it,
Right.
and this is why we're doing it.
Do you think it's right that we have to pay for how the grass to be cut by Rotherham because they won't cut it for free no more, and then now they're expecting us to cut their trees? Maybe something we need to look at in the future.
It's part of the agreement.
We maintain all under licence, the lot, the full piece.
I thought we did. I don't know.
Not just the raised beds.
So,
Can I just bring the point? I think perhaps it's worth raising with Rotherham about this in future to see where we stand, because obviously there's a drain on our finances and it's something that we're sort of maintaining and then being asked to pay for the pruning of trees that are theirs but we look after. It was a bit of a lopsided agreement. I mean, I'm quite willing to take it up with Steve Alsbrook and see whether we can organise it like there's a different view to that.
No, just all I'd say is that it is cultivated under a licence. The parish council have set that land out as they saw fit in terms of planting trees, etc., etc. And I believe that one of the trees was planted by St Bennett trees council services. So that was the way that the council was have to have a bit of land. If you relinquish the licence, then if it goes back to the borough, then you lose also control of how that piece of land is maintained and how it will look. Future generation.
I still think it's perhaps a worthwhile discussion with Richard Jackson or something like that to see where we stand with it and whether we can maybe get a better view from our point of view rather than being one way.
That's a yeah, that's all we can do on this.
I'll take you to that side of that.
List 45, item 1429, extension Houghton Lane.
No comment, Chair.
I've got a query on this. I've had a look at this and I'm a bit concerned, and in fact something that might concern the council seems at the end of the day. If you read through the application, it says that surface water from the site is to discharge into an existing watercourse. Now, I'm a bit worried that if that watercourse is, I'm not sure it's Camfrey Brook or something like that, eventually finds its way into the River Ryde and down into Anston Brook, whatever's on that area of ground that they're building their extension on in their stockyard, if there's anything there that's not very pleasant, it's discharging straight into the watercourse. I think a any surface water should really be into mains drainage on the training estate. And I'm a bit concerned that I go to the Tredevi liaison group meetings and we've made good progress with them regarding their problems. But there seems to be a lot of extensions springing up on the training estates there. I'm not always sure what's going up, but if a lot of them are just putting discharging into the sort of nearby water course, then it does worry me slightly. I think we perhaps should take that up with the planners and see why this is the case. Because if it's working its way into something that we're doing in Anson, it's costing us money, perhaps we should ask them to look at it.
I think it really comes down to, one, it is a trading estate, and I agree with the thrust of what Kevin said earlier on. The fact is we need businesses, we need employment, and we can't just turn our heads away from that. Secondly, a trading estate should be treated differently to, say, somebody's application to build a down rate house in their back garden. Third point I make is, we know that the Environment Agency and Rotherham are particularly concerned about surface water runoff, and as they were with safety clean. And therefore, I'm more than prepared to say that rely on their professionals. There's nothing wrong with you sending an email in and saying, you please check the surface water runoff, because there have been instances of pollution into Ryden Brook, which is factually correct.
Which happened with the culprit plant at the bit. Everything down Crownfit, and it was...
You are going backwards.
But as I say, I think it's something that there are lots of extensions with them, that there's still problems with lots of odour complaints from that area, that we're not quite sure what's going on. So I think it's... I know Councillor Senior's right on the one for the showman's homes on Crownfit. There was an item, what do you call it, condition on the planning agreement that they had to be careful about what went on there, and how it was drained, to make sure there's nothing going into the local water course. I would presume this would be the same, but as I say, we can just contact them and just say, you know, is this right? But we can also have a look at the conditions and make sure that there's something is imposed regarding them.
So there's anything you're looking at?
But I think it should be looked at.
Stuart.
Yeah, I mean, Clive's quite right to question runoff into water courses. And just by accepting the fact that plan application in a business area, I think is wrong, because we're here to scrutinise planning applications to make sure things don't go wrong, not just accept them in bulk or willy-nilly. Clive, can I ask you, do you know what this company does?
I'm not sure, to be truthful. I didn't look at the, I don't think it actually tells you when they submit the application. It just says a storage extension, I think, in their yard, and nothing more than that. But I think they store various materials in the yard.
Can we ask you, Clive, can we ask you to investigate this?
Yeah.
And come back to us.
Chair, I'm just going to go again to Clive. Are you wanting to make an objection, Clive, or
well, it was a comment really that we're concerned as to, you know, that some conditions should be applied regarding discharge of surface water into the local water course. And we can also ask that and raise the awareness of it.
We can say that because of the concern.
We're just concerned, as you say, it eventually finds its way to Ryden Brook or in Ryden. So.
Can you do this for us?
Can we do it, Chair?
It's better coming from Mike, I think, isn't it?
Chair?
Just with the rest. Yeah, can I propose that then?
Right, we've got a proposal.
Just raise concerns with the planning office regarding surface water discharge.
Right, the proposal is that we raise concerns, tell the planning authority that we have concerns about the runoff surface runoff into natural culverts.
I'll second.
All those in favour? 10.2. I think you're going to talk about these three, Four, yeah. It's the proposed Gypsy and Travellers site at Kipper Park Station, which has been on the agenda before.
Well, I put it on the other week and we never got around to it, so it's been carried over.
Yeah, but it has been passed some time ago, a year ago probably, on the grounds road, because the ground was heavily contaminated because of diesel fuel that had been stuck there, tarmac and everything, and it would probably not be fit for people to live on. That was the way that we objected to it.
I think there are various, if I can just comment here, there are various people who I think that were concerned with this last year, the proposal for this site. I think some are here again tonight. It was the 15th of July last year at council meeting when we, I wasn't present at that, but there was an objection put in by the parish council regarding that. As far as I'm aware, nothing's changed. It stays exactly the same the same proposal, the same site. And as far as I'm concerned, we should just reiterate our objection. I think we need to put it in again because this is the second time round and the first one will not be counted now, so
The
you have to
same-
put it in again.
The same objection.
Unless anybody's got anything to add to it, it was quite a lengthy one.
Sure.
It also included the Chesterfield Canal, and I'm a bit...
Joe.
I would like Councillor Stonebridge to have been here tonight to add his views on it, because I don't think he's too happy about it again. So my view is we put this back in again as an objection as last year.
Joe.
Yes, I mean, I think I agree with Councillor Jepson. We actually put in an extensive objection, I believe, and we did add all the information about the Chesterfield Canal that had some very interesting ideas about how they might use it as a heritage site. We also said that one of the things we needed to think about was an overspill parking area, possibly for Kimberton Park Station, which is always very busy. So, along with all the information that Councillor Jepson has just given, we did, as I say, put in an extensive objection, and I think we should reiterate that. And that I don't think anybody's views have changed.
Well, my information is that it's illegal for them to be coralling, and they will certainly be coralling in that.
Corralling, you mean?
Yes.
As you probably heard earlier, I alluded to, I was asking questions at the last consultation about this. I questioned them quite extensively, and I asked the question, what was the criteria that was used for citing this gypsy site at the position it's going to be at the dog kennel. I didn't get any sensible answer at all. I also asked the question, why are we having 3 gypsy sites, or traveller sites you probably call it, it's a better word. Why are we going to have 3 traveller sites foisted on us here in North and South Amston? And the person I was speaking to wouldn't give me an answer, despite asking me 3 or 4 times.
Where are the 3, Stuart? Where are the
There's the site down at Magilla, which is, although it's now used by the showman, on the old unitary development plan, it is still to this day classed as a traveller's site.
Yeah, and they
second site
moved out.
Yes, the original travellers moved out, the showmen are there, but the actual site is still designated as a traveller's site. There's a planning restriction on it at present for Showman's Guild.
Yeah, you've got the Showman's Guild.
Yeah, let me finish. Right. The second site is at Southampton, up by the old railway.
Yeah.
There's caravans there. And obviously now we're going to have a third site at Dog Kennel. Basically, the guy told me, we're having it. And when I said, well, that's not democratic and that's not a consultation, his answer was, if you can come up, to me personally, if you can come up with a better location that's agreeable with all, we'll move it. Now, I find that as an answer quite appalling. It's not a consultation.
Where was the third one again? Where was the third one? One's Dog Kennel, the one that we're talking about now. What's the third one?
There's one at Magilla,
yeah.
Southampton, where the old railway is.
Well, it's not really a traveller's site, is it? That? Come on.
There's more than one caravan on there, therefore it's a traveller's site.
Where is this? This is on the
Station
slip road at L Station.
Mill Lane.
Mill Lane.
We've had the planning
application. That's not...
A traveller's site.
Please, let's stick to the facts. It's not a traveller's site.
Who's on it then?
I'm sorry, Kelsey.
It is.
It's got 2 or 3 pictures on it, and it's classed as a gypsy and traveller site. It's managed by that community.
So you're getting it
and that went through earlier this year.
I think, if I could just be helpful, I think first of all that particular traveller, or calling it a traveller site with 2 or 3 caravans, they've been there years and years and years, and the community very much wanted them to stay there. They were very supportive of that. Regarding to the Magilla, most people I've spoken to, and I have spoken to, they're actually very pleased to see that that's been very nicely developed and very strictly developed according to the planning conditions that were made at the time. And it looks much, much better than it did, which was actually a bit of an eyesore. So people are pleased about that too. In terms of this gypsy and traveller site, probably people may or may not know that every local authority has by law to provide a site that is suitable or possibly suitable for possible gypsies and travellers. We haven't had one in Rotherham, we've not actually had one. Primarily because in Doncaster, it's not for travellers. I'm sorry.
I beg to differ. The site in Megillah is exactly how I explained it.
Planning permission has been given to the showman. They are developing it, as I say, as a proper, it's for static caravans, and it's being well planned and landscaped. And that's that. But there has to be, each local authority has to, by law, to develop a site that is suitable for gypsies and travellers, and we have not got one in Rotherham. So, primarily,
That's twice you've misled the public.
Can you
primarily, gypsies and travellers have gone traditionally to Doncaster, and there's no reason why they won't continue to do that, but we do have to identify a suitable site. Now, unlike everyone else, I don't think this one at Kiverton Park Station is suitable, and I will stick by the objections that we have already identified. I'd want to do that. It is quite difficult to find a suitable site, I agree, because mostly people don't want to have a gypsy and traveller site close to them, and I can understand their concerns. However, as I say, traditionally, most gypsies and travellers have gone into Doncaster. Doncaster do have a proper regulated site, and there's no reason why that shouldn't continue. But I appreciate that this is a difficulty that we've got to resolve and address.
Right, can we close this one down now?
Right, just quickly, is it, from that speech there, let's just clarify properly. The site at Megillah is a traveller site with a planning restriction on it for the Showman's Guild. Don't mislead members of the public, it's wrong when you say we have no traveller sites here in Anston. And the second thing is, I look forward to Councillor Burton at RMBC Town Hall voting against the whip over this issue.
Right, we've got a proposal that we object to it as we did before. Would you like to make it stronger than that, Clive?
Well, could we not just repeat what we did last
No,
time?
it's really just to reiterate, just to Michael said in exactly the same, but update it.
Can I second?
Can I just make one other point? There is another site of Wales actually that everybody seems to have forgotten about. I think that's 3 or 4 pictures. I'm not sure whether people in the audience from the Kiverton Park Action Group know about how many there are. But that one, I think that was another application went in there the other week, but I think that was turned down. I'm not sure, but I think that's 4 pictures there. So we seem to have, as I say, unfortunately, it all seems to be sort of congregating in this area, and I think that site is totally unsuitable.
Through the
Very
chair, RMBC, when I was a cabinet member, identified Cromwell Lane at the head of the end as a proposed site because they needed government grant to actually make it work. It was going to cost a lot of money. That was decided in favour of, that was the one they decided in favour of, and ignored the others. And the fact is the government just turned them down flat.
Okay, right, we've got a proposal, and with a second that we again object to this.
Agreed.
All in favour, yes.
Can I record a vote, please?
Yeah, if you wish. We're in favour.
Sorry? Well, that's
Is it unanimous?
Yeah. Unanimous? Yeah.
If it's unanimous, then.
We still have a recorded voice.
Sorry, Chair, to Clive directly, if we do a recording vote, this is why we get to 9:30 and people think we've not talked about it.
I want to find out where people stand.
Well, it's unanimous, so we're all here, so you need it.
I second the recorded vote.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Right, let's do it.
Councillor Baker.
4.
Councillor Bridges.
4.
Councillor Brindley.
4.
Councillor Burton.
4. This is the same objections that we
Yes.
raised last time. Yes, 4.
Councillor Crowther.
4.
Councillor Ireland.
Oh.
Councillor Jarvis.
4.
Councillor Jackson.
4.
Councillor O'Brien's not here. Councillor St John.
4.
Councillor Thornton.
4.
That's it.
Right. Okay, favour of that. Move on to B, the housing development at the former Blackson site, which is Brownfield.
Again, I don't know what people's feelings are on this. I personally would like to see something done with it as soon as possible. The fact it's a brownfield site, it should be brought forward first, but I have a feeling that it's one of these, it's going to cost a lot of money to remediate, get ready for housing, so I think it's 30 houses that are proposed. But that I'd like to see brought forward as soon as possible rather than people trying to build on Greenbelt first, which is what we've said as a parish council. We would support that, and I don't think there's any reason why this should be proposed. The only problem I have with it is its location and the traffic that it's going to generate, and how that sits with Brighton Road and Wilberforce Road, which I presume may well be the entrance to it, but I mean, there are no plans at present, but I think everybody's probably supportive of that to get something done with it and improve it, so again, it's up to the council what they think, but I think...
Can we say that we welcome it?
I mean, we'd like it brought forward as soon as possible, and our only reservations are, you know, the traffic problems it may bring to Southampton Crossroads in that area, which, again, is another issue.
Right.
Stuart, can I just say, I mean, I'm told, personally I'm told on this one, yes, we need to get the brown sites done, but as Clive just said, it's a nightmare of a place for traffic on the crossroads, underneath the bridge, etc. I think there's also an issue of the petrol station. I don't think you're allowed to build houses directly next to a petrol station. The point I want to make is this will only be solved when the planning application goes in, and that's probably the better time to make the objections.
So we just mark it down as received at this stage.
Yeah. I think we can certainly support its development.
You're saying this to the borough,
No, to the borough as part of the assistant school with the science and policies consultation.
Right,
so I think we broadly support it. We've got expressed concerns about traffic flow in the volume of traffic.
Now, next, C, the proposed development at Pennypiece Lane. If I remember rightly, the last time this was discussed, it was objected to on a number of at least 3 reasons. Number one, its accesses to a railway bridge that's got, over the railway bridge, it's got a weight limit, so it would be very difficult for heavy goods.